Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I am, of course, your host, Tony Jameson, and joining me as always is the one and only Rich Owens. Rich, how the devil are you, buddy?
I'm very, very well, thank you, mate. Very, very well. Very happy to be here, and most excited, I think, because during one of the previous attempts we've had at recording an intro this evening, we've seen a real life jailbreak happen on one of the other screens. It's been very, very exciting. So I think it started strong. It's only going to get better.
It really has, to be honest. And also, spoiler for anyone who's listening, not me or Rich either. It was our guest. Our guest has been jailbroken, if that's the correct term. Possibly, it might be, I'm not sure. We'll get to the intros, because otherwise this is going to be another attempt at recording it, and we'll be here until about Thursday at this rate. So everybody, say hello to the wonderful Mozza. Mozza, how are you, buddy? Are you good?
I'm now free in captivity again, so I'm very happy. Yes, indeed. Thank you for being with me. After half of my family decided to turn up when I locked myself in a room, so that was great fun.
It was great. It was a real life raid. Like, it was fantastic. Like, your family turned up, they brought cans, 3 people followed you. It was wonderful.
People say stuff about Glasgow families, but they only just turned up with power tools that were perfect for a robbery, just offhand. So, we're well prepared.
Exactly. I mean, who knows what tonight's going to bring, right? But make sure you bring power tools just in case. To be fair, that was one of the intros. One of the intros involved Rich flying a plane. So again, try and draw the parallels. There's somewhere. I mean, it feels very much like the hangover from last week's episode with second yellow card, where we maybe spoke about, I think collectively, 19 seconds was Football Manager chat, I think, in the hour-long podcast, and the rest of it was talking about Bears for most of it, to be honest. So already a strong start, I think, to be honest. But we'll try and get on track a little bit. We've got a few things we need to talk about. So we're going to talk about the FM playoffs first of all, Mozza. Then we'll talk about Broomhill. We also have a new community challenge to talk about at the end of the show as well. And then whatever else happens between then and now. Let's not make too many assumptions that we've got an agenda, okay? Because I think even the listeners are going, that's almost sounds structured. You've got points you're going to raise. Yeah, we'll see if we get to them, though. So we'll start playoffs. We'll start playoffs because, of course, the last couple of weeks have seen a new format for the FM playoffs. Do you want to talk us through it?
Yeah, so this all came from, people may have seen that we merged with Wasted Possession, another really kind of well thought of community tournament. And the idea was, well, we wanted to be the kind of main competitive tournament out there, because there are now hundreds of them. There's a new one every week that ends up following me on Twitter, and I go, what's that? Oh, it's another tournament. So it needed someone to step up and say, right, we're going to try and push the quality, push what we are capable of doing, I think. And at the same time, Ali and co, Stick Piano and so on, at Wasted Possession had similar thoughts. So it all made sense. So here we are, and so far so good. It's been really successful. People seem to have enjoyed it. The qualifiers with a new format, doing a draft and then a game day in different days, has worked really well. And the playoffs is just, for my money, and I am biased, the best tournament format there is in FM. So I cannot wait for this tournament, because as luck would have it, there's a lot of big names and a lot of well-groomed kind of drafters in there that should make it a really entertaining competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking there about a different format. So talk to us about this, because you say that pound for pound the best format in PvP. So obviously compare for our listeners how, for example, the streamer Showdown works, and compare how the playoffs works, just so we can understand the difference between those two formats.
So the streamer Showdown is a league of 9 people on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday they have an elimination playoff between 8th and 9th place, and it goes into classic knockouts from there. What we did when we first started the playoffs, and it's maintained the whole way through, when it was myself and Kegman that started things going, was we wanted to do all the games in one day. We wanted it to be viewable in one day, and 4 hours was kind of the rough time scale we gave it, so people didn't get bored, essentially. So you start with 2 groups, 6 people in each, and the top 3 qualify for knockouts. So you play each other once in the group stage, just your group, and then the group winners go straight to the semi-finals. Second place thirds from the other group in the quarter-finals, and then we go from there. The semi-finalists away, they've got their buys or seedings, and we get right through the final. So it makes it fast and furious when we get to knockouts, but there's also a good build-up, so people don't leave instantly. They all get a good period of time to show what they can do, and the groups provide quite a lot of drama because they're done on head-to-head rankings, they're not done in goal difference, which works for the likes of me, who, if I'm losing, I will lose, and I will lose big time because I will just go for it. It's perfect for my style. It doesn't suit other people as much, but it's entertaining regardless.
Yeah, I think we'll have to agree with that. So it is interesting, sort of listening to those 2 different styles of formats, and you're saying there, about sort of playing into your own sort of like style, essentially. I mean, let's stop beating around the bush. I've had a terrible run in the FM playoffs, so it's one of the worst tournaments I've ever been in. My record is appalling. But in addition to the finals, we've mentioned there's a qualification process now as well, rather than just a sort of like straight in as you were. There's now this merge with wasted possessions that makes what's called the path to the playoffs. Now, myself and Rich have both been part of that throughout the last couple of weeks. So, Rich, you were on the panel for Path to the Playoffs 1. Talk to us on how that works then, as opposed to how the actual playoffs itself work. Because again, a different format again, but it also incredibly exciting.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. So in terms of the Path to the Playoffs, it's made up. It's 8 streamers. We do. There's a draft on the Tuesday or Monday night for Path to Playoffs Part 2. So there's a draft early in the week, and then we do the actual games themselves towards the end of the week. Now it's a league format, so it's 8 people competing, and it's the top 4 finishers go through and make it through to the actual finals of the competition itself. I adore it. I think it's absolutely spectacular. I think there was it when we did the Mad Scientist, when we did the 92-93 draft? That's when we made steps towards the league format rather than the straight knockout format. And I love it because it just gives it's a different beast altogether compared to your standard knockout format drafting. Because the stories that you can tell, like we saw, in Path to Playoffs 1, we saw what happened with Dupe, for example. Lost his first 3 games and then goes on a tear, ends up sneaking in on the final day. Like, those are the stories that you want to tell. The other thing that I love about it is because it's a qualifier, it just really does open up that pool of participants as well. You've got people in there like Path to Playoff 1. You've got Viking Dan, who is the number 1 ranked, or at the time, because I think there's new FM rankings coming out very, very soon. But I think at that point, he was the number 1 ranked draft player in the community. And rightly so, because he'd been on absolute tear himself at that point. Competing against him, you had guys like H2, who are brand new to PvP. I think it was possibly his first proper PvP experience, and it's just giving somebody like that, because, not only he's new, he's handsome, he's humble, he's erudite. I hate him so much because he's everything I wish I was. What a jerk. Coming on, doing really well, giving a good account of himself and being really nice. What a scumbag. It's giving people like him the chance to, to put themselves out there in terms of the PvP community. Which I absolutely adore. It means that there's going to be varied lineups month to month. It's going to give people who are newer to the PvP scene the opportunity to come in, make connections, meet people. Like, I think when H2 played Dupe, they were just talking about content creation, like, during their game. There wasn't really much going on in terms of tactically, how can we improve this? Because at that point, I think Dupe was smashing him 4-0 at one point. So they're just talking about making content together. It's brilliant because those are 2 people who, without something like the playoffs, wouldn't be having that conversation with each other. So it's such a beautiful thing. I love the inclusion. I love the diversity. I love the big pool of players that are available to take part in it. And again, I love the format. I love that league. It gives, it just doesn't mean that if you have a bad first game, it doesn't rule you out completely. I think it's absolutely brilliant format. I'm very, very happy to be part of it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you've mentioned there that I've certainly touched upon and certainly noticed myself when playing in numerous PvP tournaments is the inclusion with the community and getting to rub shoulders with people you've maybe never met before, or even better, like rekindling with people that you know and get on really well with. Like there's that instant thing of, as you say there, you know, someone like H2, like shout out to H2 by the way, and to Salty B as well. Again, another debutant who turned up, gave a very, very good account of themselves, both incredibly professional, incredibly polite and humble, and just chatting away really lovely. You know, rubbing shoulders with experienced heads, learning a lot, learning about the community, coming across really well. And then so there's that. And then there's also the flip side of when, for example, we did the 92, 93 database that you hosted, Ian McIntosh was on. So like there's me and I know McIntosh from way back. Like, so me and him are just essentially having this chat on stream, which is brilliant. Like you don't have that. And like when we did Wasted Possession, me and Dr. Benji were just bantering away throughout the whole thing. And it was just, we were having a bit of a laugh. And RDF is always fun to chat to. And it's just, yeah, it's great that you can have those moments where it is just, sometimes the FM is, I think again, Second Yellow Card said it last week, when you stream, FM can be in the background. It's not even in a tournament, it's not necessarily the main thing, because it's about those connections, those conversations. And one thing that I noticed and was picked upon as we were talking on the show, on the playoffs itself, the panel, was it's a difficult skill, particularly if you're new. It's coming in because you're a new streamer, so you're getting used to streaming, you're getting used to your chat, you're getting used to being entertaining anyway. You've then got the pressure of drafting. You then got the pressure of listening to what's going on. You're in this Discord call with people who might be, you know, some of the top creators in the world. So you sort of go, oh God, I don't want to say anything in case I come across bad or whatever. Or you're trying to listen, you're trying to be polite, you're trying to join in, but also you're trying to sort of keep your chat going. You're trying to keep your eyes focused on what's happening with your draft. You then get into your games and you're then listening to people go, oh, you need to tweak that. And it can be really, really overwhelming. And especially now, the more tournaments there are, the more drafters there are, the more pressure there appears to be, or at least certainly feels to be, in these games, that it's amazing how there is still ultimately that level of fun. And I guess that's what you're essentially aiming for, Moz, I'm guessing, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. So not only are we aiming to kind of find the best drafters and PvPers and so on, I think, if I remember rightly, the new tagline that we've came up with is like, we're the pinnacle of competitive FM. But FM is a game at heart. We all love it. We all want to have fun playing it. So we will never lose that element of chatting to people we've not chatted to for ages. Like, I really hope, for example, that I get Limo in my group for the playoffs, because I feel like I've not chatted to him for a long time. We get on like a house on fire. We'll play each other and just have a laugh. It'll be a great time, you know. I'd love to have Holly in my group. I've not really spoken to her properly as yet. I really like what she does. So it's a chance to kind of speak to people that you don't know that well at the same time, or like when you've got newer people to the scene, like I was about to say Murph there, but Murph's been around a little while. It's only recently though Murph's kind of taken that jump, I would say, into the kind of the upper echelon of these tournaments. So just to get their opinions on things, and if there's anything different they're seeing that I'm missing, it's a great experience, not purely just for the fun side and the connection side, but also it gives you a new perspective on things as well, because I feel like it's quite easy to get, when you're a streamer, stuck in your box of this is what I do and I'll do it all the time and I'll continue to do it and this is what people want to see me, so I'll keep going. It gives a freshness when you're playing against other people and getting chatter going, and it's actually brought people together that would never have had communications together. And you mentioned H2 and Salty. The two of them did brilliantly, really well. So it goes to show that even as a new person, with all those distractions and with those kind of pressures on you, as long as you approach things the right way, there's no reason you can't be successful. I mean, I still remember my first ever PvP tournament was way back. They did the FM World Cup. This was years ago now. And I was, up to this point, I think I'd streamed a couple of times, if that. I'd mainly been doing blogs by this point. And I was in a tournament with Dr. Benji. And I was a name that stuck out. And I thought, oh God, like if I draw against this guy, I'm in trouble. As it happens, I didn't realise I wasn't very good at PvP, but we'll digress. But I had a great time. And the same thing as you're meaning, like I had those having to worry about the chat. I was still a very new streamer, having to think about tactics. I didn't do very well in the tournament, but I really enjoyed the experience and I came back. And that's what we want. We want people to want to come back into it and to make it the kind of the hot sought after ticket in town, because there's only 20 people can take part in total, and we want everyone to aspire to be into it, because not just can you get a bit of gravitas or a bit of glory through it, but you can also have a great time as well.
And one thing that I have noticed as well is in terms of the preparation side of where you are right now, there's been a step up. And again, when you merged with wasted possession, I think people were sort of looking and going, well, okay, what's the point? Why these two things merge, and like what's going to happen? There needs to be something better off the back of the two tournaments merging, yeah. And from that, already you can spot the visual quality, the audio quality. It's taken a step up, and you say there are so many tournaments now, so many community drafts and stuff, which is brilliant, and there needs to be more of those. They're really accessible for everybody. Again, fantastic accessibility, representation, things that absolutely need to be at the forefront of everything that's spoken about in the community. It looks like there's a sort of almost like a prerequisite. I know Ben says a lot with the streamer Showdown. He's very open about it. He says, look, to be on the Showdown, you need to be a streamer, first of all. You need to have a really good quality stream. They're making TV, essentially.
Yes, yeah.
And they're very open about, you have to be at this level with your stream quality. It's not just about being good at the game. You need to be broadcast quality at the very minimum, and then everything else is sort of in and around. With the playoffs, it seems like that you're moving slightly towards that side as well. A bit more sort of like, look, we want a higher quality product, again, to maybe sort of distance and separate from the other tournaments. Am I reading that between the lines right?
Yeah, I mean, the aim of this whole thing, when myself and Ali came together and discussed it and laid it out in a document and said, right, we're going to stick to this, is we will always want to be accessible. So we've had H2, we've had Salty. That proves that we will always be accessible to new streamers, but we also want to put out a product that is enjoyable to watch and good quality to watch. And we're going to start putting limitations on certain things to make sure we have a minimum level of quality for that, which someone was going to do at some point, and why not us, is the way I looked at it. Someone was going to come and raise the bar, and why would we sit and wait for that? Why would we not be the people to go and do that? And then hopefully that will lead to other tournaments following our lead as well, and just generally the rising tide raises all ships. I know it's a kind of corny phrase, but it's true that we've watched the Showdown's quality and we thought, that's brilliant, we want to get to that level. And obviously we're not there yet, but we're making progressions in every single tournament. The way I look at it is, if it was an improvement on the last tournament, we've done well. And that will always be my mentality. Not just on quality, but also on feedback from participants that we'll always take into account as well. And to be honest, the least important number, but it is still important, would be the viewer numbers. That we want people to watch it at the end of the day. But if we are putting out a better quality product, then people will come and watch it.
I mean, I think that in terms of the quality of what's being made, it's just every single tournament that I've been involved in, from kind of a behind the scenes or pundit kind of point of view, every single playoffs that I've been involved in, it's just the next tournament is always just miles ahead of where they were previously. And the benchmark was good. The benchmark was strong. I think, especially since the rebrand and the relaunch, the production value is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Shout out Jebaru, who is integral to that. He does wonderful work on it. And again, I'll never say this to his face, but right. But yeah, it's absolutely incredible what he does. He hosted, he hosted Path to Playoffs 1. The fact that he was sending through, right, this is how the night's going to run, and these are timings, these are points that we're going to be hitting. This is this conversation, but everything about it was so professional, and that's that's the level it should be at. And
Yeah.
you know, it's and the other really, really nice thing as well is just somebody like, you know, I was joking when we were kind of having the conversations, myself and Jabaroo and Kev and Owen as well. I was like, a spreadsheet with things to say and research points. I just turn up and vibe. I'll just turn up and I'll say things, and I'll be okay. That's my remit. I'll just turn up and say words, and everything will be fine. But actually, I massively appreciate this because it just kind of, you know, you don't want to be the guy who's unprepared when in that kind of professional environment. So it's fantastic. And the other great thing as well is that everybody who's been involved, not just in front of the camera in terms of the participants, behind the scenes in terms of the panelists and the pundits, everybody's taken to it really well. Everybody, I think, understands the mission brief. Everyone's kind of on board and is happy to do, you know, we want to help get the playoffs to the level that you guys, obviously, you know, you and Ali want it to be. So it's been brilliant fun in that respect. Absolutely fantastic. But the production, just outstandingly good.
Yeah, Jeb needs to take so much credit for that since he's came in. I mean, anywhere where there's been an element of chaos, he's brought organisation to it, which is arguably more important than the visual difference. You'll have seen it if you watched it. Basically, that it's taken a huge step forward from a point where we used to all log in on a website, have our cameras together, and stream from that website. Jeb's came in and said, right, I can do this. And suddenly we're getting to a point where, let's be honest, it's esports light the way it's set up now, which is great because that's where I draw inspiration from when I'm looking at the shows on the playoff channel that I watch the COD League live. I watch a little bit of Fortnite every so often, not necessarily because I'm into those games, but I'm learning from the production. I'm learning from what they're doing and the way they present things, the way they're saying things. And the other thing Jeb's really bought into is the detail. Because one thing that I said to him is I love when you've got narratives, but you back it up. So you're talking about people and it's suddenly thrown out of nowhere, or they played each other 3 times before, and here were the results. It just adds such a layer of detail and such a layer of, oh, so he's not winning 3 games, so what's going to happen here? It all works in tandem. It's great.
Yeah, it's context, isn't it? At the end of the day, you need your viewers to buy into something. And I know it's difficult, sort of, we've all noticed ourselves as creators, like you stream your stream, you've got your save going on, your chat and your audience are involved because they know what's happening. We've all noticed that numbers sometimes probably drop a little bit when we do a draft because it's like just dropping in for no reason, really. It's like there's no context here. But as you say, if you're watching the main show and you can give context to viewers who are watching everybody and going, all right, you know, Tony and Mozza have played each other once. This was what happened, or right, okay, Rich has got this sort of run at the minute. It could all change. That it gives a purpose. It gives something to it. And as you say, you're right. Without that, it's just people playing FM, and that's like, that's good. But you know, the Showdown do that fantastic as well. Seeing the playoffs do that fantastically is also wonderful. You mentioned professionalism. I've got to take a slight bit of umbrage with that because I host a show called Drafts and Crafts with the FM playoffs.
It's a very professional beer drinking stream, I think you'll find.
I think so, yeah. Professional beer drinkers are on that stream. That's just something that was a conversation piece, and again, without sort of like wanting to go too much behind the curtain as to how that came about. That was the sort of the aftermath, really, of a discussion. If you watch a draft, you happen there, you see what the team is. People obviously want to debate what's going on straight away, but these things can sometimes take a little bit of time. So there was a discussion to go, well, how about trying a new format, a bit like a podcast, essentially, get a panel of people sitting around, go, right, you've had a couple of days to digest or a day to digest the teams, go through it. Now what? And that seems to be very popular.
Yeah, and I mean, that format in a different way has worked with FM in the past. You look at Grass and Gear podcasts, for example, where they always start their streams with Tony telling you what beer he's cracking open and letting you hear him crack it open. People seem to enjoy the marriage of the two, which tells me that a lot of people like to drink and play FM, which is extremely dangerous. But I'd rather do that than drive, so fire on, folks. But yeah, it's also a recipe for ruining a save, so be careful if you're logging in drunk.
We've all done it. We've all done it.
Sound advice.
I'm a man that speaks from experience, sadly.
Hey, as Rich says, we've all done it. We've all done it.
Yeah, I'm a big drafts and crafts guy. I think it's such a nice addition to the playoff weekend, especially. It's just good fun. It's just good fun. It's just a group. It just, and that's the other really nice thing about it. I've been part of a few, and the ones that I haven't been part of, I've watched. And you would be forgiven for thinking that the people that are always involved, regardless of how well they know each other from the community, I just think it's that just going down the pub with your mates environment, isn't it? Yeah. There's it's just friendly. You would be forgiven for thinking that the people knew each other really, really, really well, and it was just a conversation between friends about something. It's like if you go down the pub, so did you watch that film last night? And then you just sit and chat about it for an hour. It's brilliant fun. And I think it's the nice thing for me as well is that it humanizes it. It's if you're somebody that just watches, if you're somebody that wants to watch the playoffs, it puts these people who, even if you watch their streams, you might not know that much about them. It makes them into real people rather than just an online username and a stream you might have watched every now and then. It really adds a little bit more to it. And, for a lot of people, it's not just watching it for the enjoyment of watching an FM draft. You're investing in the characters, you're investing in the people behind it. So that for me just adds another level to it again. It's storytelling. And I think that's one of those things that, storytelling and FM go hand in hand.
One thing I think I noticed with it is because it's a separate show. If you're doing your recap after your draft, your players have only got a certain amount of time to react to what you're saying. But if you give them a day and you give them time to tune in and go, we're going to discuss your team. Some opinions go flying back and forth. and you know what? It's good. It's good. It gets people involved, and it really makes people go, well, they don't know what they're talking about. They're saying stupid things, and it gets people riled up. And I know spoke to FM girl Alice recently. She was like, sometimes people say things about my team, and you know what? I'm going to show them who's boss. And it's like, yeah, good. That's what you want. Make some TV, make some rivalries in that sense. Make it so that people have something to play for. And I think the thing that I was most impressed with the first time the Drafts and Crafts show happened was once we'd finished. The next day, I had a handful of messages from creators, very respected creators, going, "Can I do the next one?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a format. That's a format people like." Okay, interesting. So I suppose then this isn't an advert, by the way, for the playoffs, just in case I was listening going, it's very, very playoffs based at the minute. We will, of course, promote it, though, because the FM playoffs is coming up shortly after this episode drops. So, Mozza, do you want to go through, first of all, when it's happening, and more importantly, who's taking part and where people can see it?
So if I get my calendar up so I don't say the wrong date, it's Thursday the 11th and Sunday the 14th of August. So the Thursday will be the draft, starting at I believe it's 7:30 we're going at for the draft show. And then the Sunday will probably start a little bit earlier, sometime 6 onwards for the games. So in there you have 12 creators, including myself. I won't say anything about me because I'm not that way inclined.
Nepotism.
But you've got the kind of top ranked Steve Hood, who's fantastic at PvP, Holly, who won the Streamer Showdown, our first goal, the likes of Breezy, Limo, Dupe, Alice, FM Girl, all of them know their way around their draft. Then yours truly, down to Fox in the Box, who's making a comeback, having been obviously a big name and helped to start the Showdown as well. And then you get into the kind of the ones with something to prove, shall we say. So you've got Murph, you've got JD, who's had a terrible run, but he's very capable. You've got Lewis, who actually won the Summer Cup recently, so he'll be boosted up in the rankings to come. And then you have McKinns, who very much embraces the jovial and the meme side of drafting. But don't let it fool you, because he has won a Showdown as well, so he knows what he's doing. But he does very much embrace the fun and games side of FM. I love McKinns.
Excellent. I mean, that is a stacked card, to be honest. I think we've got to say. So also Drafts and Crafts is on the Friday as well. We'll plug that one as well. But yeah, so where can people see it then? Where can people find all that out?
So it's twitch.tv/FM playoffs or at FM Playoffs on Twitter for all the latest, and you'll see all sorts on there and updates. You won't be able to miss the streams if you follow it on Twitter, put it that way. But you'll find links to everyone else through that as well.
Excellent stuff. Right. Well, we'll make sure all that's in the description and stuff on the podcast, and obviously on YouTube as well. And we'll plug it back out at the end of the show. But so it's not just playoffs. Not just playoffs. We're going to talk about. We're going to talk about. First of all, we're going to acknowledge the fact you're wearing a Valor shirt. So we're big fan of that. That was our monthly challenge a couple of months ago. We're a big fan of Valor over here. So shout out to Scooter, I believe, for sorting out for that.
I believe I'm the only person in Scotland that owns one of these. So
nice.
Probably, I would imagine so. I mean, it's a thing of beauty. Very, very impressed. Let's talk. Again, I've got to make sure I say this name properly. Let's talk Open Goal Broomhill. Let's talk about your involvement there. How did you get into it? What do you do? And what's the plan going forward?
So that came through FM as well. So if anyone doesn't know, I do the Scottish non-league database every year on Steam. And I've done that for a number of years now. That it just activates every team in the pyramid in Scotland that you can play as them. Because we're not at the stage yet where the game is able to get down to the lower reaches. But as part of that, I was doing research and getting in touch with teams and asking about squads and players or positions. One of them was BSC Glasgow, who are now Broomhill. And one thing led to another. Got a bit of chat. I got quite friendly with the guy on their socials, Michael Park, and he invited me to get involved initially by doing an FM save on their website. So I thought, well, why not? It's a foot in the door of a football club, and part of the reward was getting a season ticket. So I thought, well, they're down the road. I'll do that. I'll quite happily kind of get free football games for playing FM. And now, 4 or 5 seasons later, we're at the stage where I'm commentating on our games alongside a former Scotland international, former Rangers player, Kevin Kyle. I'm helping on the content side with video as well, and I'm appearing in their documentaries. And it's grown into something I could never have ever anticipated when I got involved, because if anyone doesn't know, so we were BSC Glasgow, we then had to change name to Broomhill because the youth team owned the name essentially, and they formed their own team instead down in the West of Scotland leagues to let the youth players break through a bit more. Like, we were doing better than they thought, so less youth players were getting a chance. And then Open Goal signed up over the summer to have a full-on partnership with us. So it's not like having a sponsor. It is a proper partnership where they're doing the content side. They are a Scottish football podcast and content vehicle that they go and speak to managers, they interview personalities, they do a podcast on Scottish football as a whole. And now they've got Broomhill, where there's a fly in the wall documentary, almost hashtag style, if I was to try and think of a comparison. And all the content alongside this is what a non-league club looks like in modern times, but we're throwing everything at it as well in terms of the manager, who's Cy Ferry, ex-Peterhead player, ex-Celtic youth, was part of Open Goal as their interviewer, and that's his day job. But he is so driven to be a success. So he's got to the point where he's using the video recordings of these matches, taking clips, sending them to players, telling them what to work on. And it's created a whole new opening in the way that the club is managed and run, and the way players are learning. Because we've got a lot of young players that are learning their trade that have been released from bigger sides, for example. And they're appreciating that coaching. That'll make them better. They'll get a chance to move up, but hopefully the club moves up with them long term. I'm really enjoying it just now. But the fact that FM content led me to get involved with a club this deeply is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's an advert for everyone, because I know it is, like people say, it's the holy grail, isn't it, of getting involved in a your FM save becomes a connection to a real club. I know people have reached out about the fact that we've connected with Odds Ball Club. Like, we know loads of people who've obviously got connections with proper football clubs off the back of it. But you were mentioning about part of how a football club runs in modern times. Now, part of your job, as far as I understand, was filming during lockdown as well, going back to the pandemic, and obviously there was no football at all. and this was when you were starting to really sort of ramp up a bit. Is that sort of, am I reading that right? Or
Yeah, well, that's the reason I'm a Twitch partner, because during lockdown, the leagues were still going, but fans weren't allowed in. And we got to a point where we were the lowest level that we're still playing at this point. And what was the point in playing games and just putting results out for no connection for fans? We're a small club that got an average of 100 fans, if that, through the gates at that point. Why don't we live stream? What are we missing out on here? There's no point in charging for it. Like, let's get it out there and try and build the club, build the brand. So it was just massive. Like, I don't think people realise how much I got out of doing that. But I was so fortunate to be able to continue to go out when people weren't allowed to travel, to go to these games, to bring live coverage, to communicate with people watching the game, go back and forth about what was going on, these players. The players loved it as well, because they could go home, they could watch the game back, they could see what people were thinking about their performances and get a bit of communication that way. It was huge, absolutely huge for the club, and that's part of the reason I think the Open Goal eventually have got to this point, because we showed we were open to modern ways of running, as you say, and it also got us a kind of national profile. Like, people knew that we were the team they could come and watch for free, and they did so in their numbers. We were getting 300-400 a lot of the time watching games, which was mad, when it was literally just my stream camera and a microphone set up on a laptop at the game, you know.
Do you think that moving forwards, that is something that you would expect more kind of clubs, you know, just across the pyramid, you know, in countries like England as well? Because to me, it just makes sense. That seems like the evolution of being able to watch non-league football. Do you think that that's something that you are, you know, what the work you've done with Broomhill, do you think you kind of set the benchmark for how that should be done? Are you expecting to see more clubs do similar things over the next few years?
I'd like to think so. I mean, during the lockdown side, I helped a couple other clubs get going, because they saw what we were doing, and it's all right, we're going to give that a try as well. So the likes of Co-Winning Rangers, Pennycook, Broxburn, a few other clubs got in touch with me and kind of gave a wee hand here or there. But it has to be. It's hard in this world where, even from 20 years ago, you don't see kids walking about in their local club stop anymore. It's Man City with Haaland on the back. It's Liverpool with Salah, for example. And this is in a small town in Scotland, where I am. So you need to take advantage of any avenue you can as a smaller club to build that. It's not enough now to be a community hub. You need to be more than that. And it's a matter of time before, like, the old way of thinking kind of gets forced out in terms of, no, we want people to come and pay in the gate. That's not always the case anymore. People aren't going to just come up for no reason. They need a reason to come. If they see content out there, they're far more likely to come through the gate on a Saturday.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is. There's definitely a new way of interacting with the world, and as you say, like, I mean, I don't know. It comes down to money as well. Like, I mean, even York City, like, it's 20 quid a ticket, and they're in the conference. You're like, it's still a lot of money. I mean, like, the kids go free, so like I can still take the kids in for free, but it still cost me 20 quid to get through the door. Like, we were pricing up potential season tickets, and it was like 300 quid for York, which I guess balanced out about sort of 15 quid a game or something, 12 quid a game maybe. But Sunderland was like 350. And then the Championship, like, come on, that's huge disparity in price. And you're right, you just want to get people through the door, and you say about community and like those sorts of things. Now you're right, times have moved on. Like, we it is coming back. I think more people are getting drawn back towards non-league football, and we've had conversations. Shout out, by the way, to the non-league volunteers Twitter account, a guy called Simon who runs it. We've had a couple of conversations with him, and we're going to get him onto the podcast in the next few weeks anyway, because we're kind of trying to get almost like a link up, not a link up per se, but we want to kind of like get a club for FMT to follow as well. So we want to kind of go back and try and see what we can do to help non-league in any small way we possibly can, because, you know, we're like, you know, my story is very open. Like, I'm pretty much against the top flight. Like I'm bored of it. It's rubbish. Right? I'd rather spend my money in the non-leagues. I'd rather go and support a club that really, really needs it, particularly after the pandemic when clubs were to the wall and pretty much gone. So getting people through the door and seeing clubs now being that more forward thinking and going, you know what, let's take a risk, because if it doesn't work, well, what have you lost? You've just oh great, you've convinced someone to come down with a laptop and a camera for a day and no one watched the stream. Right, fine, no worries. But you know what? You've got some video footage and you can you can go back and rerun the tactics at that little level. You know what I mean? So it is strange, and it is good to see more teams taking that sort of approach, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the frustrating thing is the governing bodies still aren't there yet. So there's clubs that are blazing a trail, but for example, where we are, the SFA, and I believe the FA are exactly the same, have brought back a blackout rule for Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs. So I'm not allowed to stream Saturday games again, which it just seems totally counterintuitive when we, albeit now with the partnership, we're getting 500 plus fans through, which is great. But we don't have that option now to broadcast that game out live unless it's specifically blocked in the UK. And only we and one other European country follow the blackout rule. It's an old rule for old times, and it deserves to be scrapped because it's people arbitrarily putting limits on clubs, especially down the pyramid as well, where you need to generate new ways of interest and income. That it's an old man in suit rule, and it needs to be gone.
I agree completely, and the thing is, like, if you can break that down, like I noticed this when we did the Blind Spartans stuff in the stand-up show, and when Football Manager released the documentary, and there's me at Spartans, like sort of going around, I went to a game up there, and I got talking to a couple of guys at the ground, and they were going, you know that after the film came out, we sold shirts all over the world, right? I'm like, seriously? He's like, yeah, like seriously, the club shop like had a bit of an issue trying to sell stuff. Like they were trying to work out, going, how on earth do we sell to like send stuff to like South Korea and that? I'm like, that's bizarre, but it makes sense because if you're only sort of accessible to your local community, you're only going to get so much. If you're in a small community, you've only got a few thousand people to sell to. If you can sell to the world, then that's surely that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is baffling, isn't it? It really is baffling because why wouldn't you want to be able to, if you're, as I say, if it's like I say, Mozza, ideally summed up, it's an old man in suit rule. It was, it's not relevant to the modern game. It just makes so much more sense to be able to offer clubs lower down the pyramid the opportunity to kind of, become financially secure, boost their fan base, because like you say, if you've got access to regular online content, if you go on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, you can sit down and you can watch a game of non-league football, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be your local club. Like, why wouldn't you want to give people the opportunity to be able to do that? Because it's just encouraging engagement with the game. It's like you say, I don't think there's anything better than just somebody working in a club shop at a non-league football club. And I was like, I've got to send a shirt to Austria. That can't be right. That's definitely not. No, this is a wind up. This is definitely a wind up. But no, you want to give those clubs, like, you want those stories. You want people to be able to engage with your club from further afield, because surely that's the end goal. You want if you want football in your country to be a success at all levels, then I can't think of any viable reason why you would want to put rules in place that would be to the detriment of that. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, here's an example right here.
He's put Austria on his form. Does he mean Alloa? He does mean Alloa. Probably needs to just go there.
But an example is the shirt I'm wearing right now, this Canadian Premier League side, Valor, obviously through our friend Scoot, our mutual friend, but I found a way to get this to Scotland. So there is always a way that someone will be able to get, if they really want something, they'll be able to get it. And when our new shirts come out this season, I suspect we'll have a similar situation, that people that say watch my streams, because I'm Broomhill on stream as well, will want to buy a kit. It happened last year. They had inquiries from, I think Chile was the most exotic place that they had a request from to buy a shirt. And the person mentioned my name. I didn't know I had a viewer from Chile at that point. So if you're listening, hello. But, but it's not so much just the global reach, because that will always have its limitation in numbers. But if there's someone stuck at home and they're stuck for something to do, and they put on their computer and there's a live stream of an on-league game there, and that team is 5 minutes down the road, they watch that game, they might think, sounds like a good atmosphere. I'll go to the pub, have a drink, I'll go to the game. And it happened to me at the start of this season. Our first game of this season, someone approached me, said hello, did a wee introduction, said, I watched you during lockdown and I really enjoyed the streams, and now they support Broomhill. That they were a Rangers fan, but this gave them a team to follow because they didn't go to all the Rangers games, they can't afford it. But they can afford £9 on the gate for us, or £100 season ticket. It's a huge difference.
Sometimes it's also about the fact that people don't even know the clubs exist.
Yeah, exactly.
As well, like, because you sit there, like, you live, I mean, Glasgow's got, or the Glasgow area's got so many teams you can follow. Like, you take the Old Firm out of it, there's still 100 teams or whatever. You could go for days before realizing, like, you get to Broomhill's level. Like, and that's fantastic. I see, you could literally just go like, oh, they're just there. Like, well, I'll do that then, rather than traveling 40 minutes into Glasgow or whatever. Like, so it is that. It's about accessibility. And I think that it's, these teams need to help promote themselves. I know you're saying there about managing them on stream, and I guess it kind of raises a question, because me and you are quite similar at FM. Right? A one club save terrifies me. Right? Okay, I've done it once, right? And I looked out and I got a stand-up tour out of it. Okay, there's a shirt behind me, right, from Odds Bowel Club. Mm-hmm. That have got a link up for us, and we stream the Odds Bowel Club save, and I'm anxiety levels every time I stream, going, I don't want to get sacked with the club watching. Like, it's just, what do we do next? Like, for you, what do you do if you get sacked from Broomhill? Do you just continue that save as a thing, or do you just sack it off and go,
I've not had to do it yet. I've came very close though. So back when I did the BSC stream, this is back my second or third season working with the club. I got to a point in Tier 2 where I'd not had one in 18 straight games. And I've never been allowed to forget the fact it's 18 straight games I didn't have a win in. And the big money striker that I'd brought in for Half My Wage project got 4 goals all season. But I had a point where I had to think, if I get sacked, and they're in the stream watching this, waiting to see if I get sacked, including a couple of the players, by the way. What do I do here? Like, do I just pretend it never happened and start afresh somewhere else? Or, I don't know. Is the honest answer? I just kind of style it out, I guess, when it happens. But I'd maybe get the CEO on the phone live on stream and say, by the way, I've just been sacked. So I'd find something to do, just kind of raise the mood a bit.
Have you ever kind of found yourselves in one of those situations where, as you say, you've streamed and you've had players watching, for example?
Yes.
At that, being at the level Broomhill are at, you're having that regular interaction with the players. I think it was somebody like, I think it was Jason Manford who used to have a bit about, he was playing FM and he found himself getting irrationally angry. I think it was Mika Richards. And he bumped into him at a gig once and kind of, just was a bit off with him. Is that something you've kind of come across yourself in real life, where you've been getting poor performances out of players, but having that link with the club? And it's like, you could just phone them up and just call them shithouses if you really wanted to, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's certain players I wouldn't want to tell that to. We recently signed Kirk Broadfoot, who is a centre-back who's played for Kilmarnock, Rangers, played for Scotland, and you would not want to meet that man down a dark alley. So I have a situation where I'm going to have to never release him until he retires when I play the next FM. But there's certain other players that we had a guy, Scott Dunn, on loan last year, centre-back. For whatever reason, the research in the game was wrong. That made him 5'4" instead of 6'4". And he watched the first stream really excited to see what I would do with him. And I released him within 10 minutes of the first stream. and I got a really upset message from him going, I understand why you did it, but you still did it. So there's always a kind of a slight kind of fence to hurdle when you're speaking to the guys in real life about it, but most of them think it's a laugh, you know.
We had one of the younger, like the under 21 lads joined a stream once, because we got quite a lot of Norwegian viewers when we stream it, and we got one of the under 21 lads jumped in on the stream. He was just like, oh hey, not sure how many seasons you're in, but like I might still be at the club. And I was like, oh, this is awkward because you're not at the club. Like, and he's like, don't worry, I wasn't very good. I've stopped playing, actually, to be honest. I'm like, oh, I don't know why we released you. It probably would have been something. I was just like, oh God, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah, Chelsea came in for you. Yeah. We won't look you up and we won't prove it, but just believe me when I say that Chelsea came in for you.
Mate, would it make you feel better if I said you had a career-threatening injury? Would that help? No, that's made it worse. Okay, Tara.
Yeah, you can't really get away with that, because I tried that once and the guy responded, no, I saw what you did. I was like, oh. Yeah, I kind of let your contract run out, sorry.
You got a cracking offer at Tesco's. That's what happened there. You won the lottery, mate. You don't need to be doing this nonsense playing around for Broomhill. You live out in Stirling now. Oof, Mr. Moneybags.
I was, until very recently, I was tagging people in tweets, post streams, people like Jose Luis Chilavert, the wonderful goalkeeper, who, unfortunately had to leave my save earlier this week. Didn't tag him in that one because I don't trust him to not turn up around mine and just batter me. Like he's got time and money on his hands. I think it's a fight he knows he'd win. So I'm just gonna leave that one out there. I don't think he's watching my streams, but just in case.
There's a line. There is a line, though, isn't there? Like, I know we all predominantly tag the club in it at some point. That, this is like, oh, this is my current save, like, and maybe you get a retweet or whatever, and let's say everyone's happy with that. But you tend not to tag players unless they've done something fantastic. Then of course you're like, oh, can't believe this has happened. We told the story on the podcast a few weeks ago that as part of my current save, we had a guy called Nathan Blissett, who's Luther Blissett's nephew. We got him in, and he saved our season. He was fantastic. Turns out he used to play for Bristol City when Steve Hood used to work for Bristol City. And he was like, okay. Oh, no, Blissett's a top lad. Like, he tags him in the tweet and he's brilliant lad. And there's this sort of thread going on. I hadn't seen the thread at the time. And then within it is Blissett going, what's going on here, lads? Like, what's this about? So I'm like, just tagged you on FM and that, and you're really, really good. And just everyone said that you're a really nice guy. And I just wanted to say thank you. And he's like, oh, that's cool. Hi, Chance. That's class.
Just want to put it out there as well at this point, by the way. Obviously, Tony's got Odds Bowel Club, that he's involved with. Mozza, obviously, very heavily involved in Broomhill. Every other football club in the world, hit me up, like, come talk to your boy Rich. I will rinse your players online. I'll do it. I'll do it to their faces, especially if they're local. If they're within an hour's drive of me, I'll do it to their faces. I won't.
You will turn up at their front door, knock on that door, and tell them.
I will. I was like,
their attributes and their feelings.
Exactly. I will turn up and I will put my arm around them and I will tell them they've not been performing well in training recently, and they'll just tell me to leave their property before they release the dogs, and that's fine. Just some football club give the opportunity to do this.
I do not fear the sack on stream. I embrace the sack on stream. I will go to your local rivals and take over them.
Yeah.
Rich, I think you need to do Sheffield, mate. Do Sheffield FC. That's what you need to do. Get in touch with Sheffield FC. Unite the city. That's what you need to do.
Finally. So Danny Deegan can sleep well. Unite the city of Sheffield in harmony together. It's unlikely, but I can try. I'll do my very best.
Tony's best trump card he ever played was getting to the point he was about to get sacked and just dangling it and then resigning. And
that was so
I've
much
always
fun.
remembered it. Always remembered it, how angry people were watching.
So the funny thing was, like, so obviously that was Aberdeen, and we've spoken about that story so much on the podcast. The recent the community challenge that we do, Mad Scientist picked for us to do Aberdeen with the 92-93 database, right? So we've just finished it, and I was furious. I was furious that he picked it. I was like, you've done that deliberately because I don't like Aberdeen. Nothing against Aberdeen, of course. It's a fictitious place, doesn't exist, right? But we've played it. We've just finished it. And I have to say, on record, I fair enjoyed that, really. It was quite a good save because in the 92-93 season, Aberdeen are second that season. I think they actually do manage to break the old firm. Mm-hmm. And I finished third in the SPL in the 92-93 season with a wonderful, wonderful record, including a 10-3 victory over Morton. I beat who did I beat? I beat somebody 7-1 in the cup. I was well happy with that. My team consisted of obviously Theo Snelders in goal, obviously. Alec McLeish retained his centre half spot. Roy Aitken we kept. We got Sol Campbell in on loan, which is quite an interesting one. He played centre half. We got Alan Thompson. You know him from used to play for Villa and Celtic. Yep. Played him left midfielder. We played him at left wing back. Sometimes we played Scott Booth at left wing back as well. Probably should have played him higher up, but he was brilliant at wing back. We also got Simon Grayson in at right back as well. Derek McInnes. Yeah, very excited to see him. Vinnie Jones, very surprised to get him in January, but also not surprised that I bought Vinnie Jones. This is where the save starts to tilt. And be like, I think Tony's took over at this point here. In January, it all changed because we got some money in January. We had to sell Big Mitsu Patalainen. I didn't want to sell him. Duncan Shearer was banging goals at left, right, and centre. Owen Jess was banging goals at left, right, and centre. Derek Adams was like 16 and just coming through. Russell Anderson's about 14 in the game. Yeah. And Stephen Glass is the same, so they never even got a sniff at first-team football. But Mitsu, Arsenal came in with a £4 million bid for him, and I'm like, he's going to have to go at £4 million, isn't he? And then loads of other teams came in at £4 million, and the board were like, he's gone. Just say your goodbyes, he's going, right? Like he's at the airport now.
I mean, that's the Aberdeen board when any bid of 2 million plus comes into picture.
We'll tell you which plane he's getting on. Like, just that's the thing, right? He's there with his passport. He doesn't know, right? And he goes to Bayern Munich for £4 million. Okay, so I'm panicking. I'm like, right, I need to get a striker in to replace Big Mitsu's goals. Oh, and I got a striker in. For £1 million. £1 million got me Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And you know what? He was an absolute monster in the SPL. 20 goals in 8 games.
Jesus. I must admit, a little part of me died when you said you sold Mixu because he's the target man in that database. He is so good playing as a target man. I think I drafted him, or I tried to draft him when we did the playoff version of it, but he's an outstanding target man.
Well, you got Big Niall Quinn, didn't you? Who's of course the best target man. But yeah, I was just like, I can't believe he's gone. But I was like, should we just try and get Jimmy in? And Jimmy turned up. He was so good, so good. Rich, how did you find it? Did you finish it in the end or?
No, I'm going to be honest with you. I'd like to say publicly that it's because I won the last 2 challenges, so I just thought I'd give somebody else a chance this time. But realistically, just time got away from me. It's been a month, so time got away from me. But as you say, that I saw the Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank signing on the Discord, and I thought that's a masterstroke. He's just so good. I picked him up Wednesday in my stream save, and then immediately sent him back out on loan to Ajax. So I've got him. I'm just coming to the end of season 2 on my save. So next season, it's going to be Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and Andy Cole up front for me at the Wednesday. Ooh. So I'm very, very excited by that. He's doing phenomenally well in Holland at the moment. So I keep an eye on his goal tally, and he's constantly scoring, constantly providing. So there's Vinnie Jones is another one as well. I picked him up in my Wednesday save. Walking yellow card machine. I think he finished the season. I think he was on 20, maybe 21 yellow cards. So it was literally every time he set foot on the pitch. But he was, as I say, for a save based at a fictional club, you know what a save to have been picked. What a save to have been picked. It's
yeah, I was quite impressed. There was one bit, and again, maybe it must be a visual glitch, but I'm sure at one point it looked like Vinnie Jones was wearing gloves. So not even boxing gloves either, or MMA mitts.
Let's just make sure Mad Scientist's address never leaks out and he ever finds out about that. Then
I think so. Turning up. Well, he's going to be in the area. It seems a good time to mention that. Actually, well done, Mozza. You're good. Mad Scientist is coming to see us. Believe it or not, he's coming in from Denmark because FMT is going on the road. Everybody, we have a live show booked in. That's right. We're doing a live podcast recording as part of the Nottingham Comedy Festival. Loosely connected to comedy, I think, in the same way that we're loosely connected to Football Manager. It's going to be at the Canal House, which is a fantastic venue. It's a venue I use quite a lot whenever I do stand-up shows. I do solo shows there. The organisers, the promoters who run it are wonderful people. The bar itself is fantastic. They've got some wonderful ales on. Great coffee as well, by the way, if you're a non-drinker. And they do some decent soft drinks as well. Tickets are priced at £5. It's Monday the 7th of November, so do come and hang out with us. Tickets are actually selling. People are buying tickets. As I say, the Mad Scientist is flying in from Denmark. We've seen his ticket stub. He's tweeted us the picture going, I've booked it. I'm coming. Mozza has booked his ticket. He's coming.
Yes, indeed.
It's very rare we tend to plug the audience rather than show. I'll tell you who else is coming to the show.
Here are the people you could sit next to.
You could sit next to any of the Dave Goodger's coming. He's local. But yeah, no, we're doing that, so it'll be good fun. We're basically going to do it. It's an hour's record. We've got some guests. We're not going to announce them, but you'll be very, very excited is all I'm going to say. If you're not there, the only other way to see the show is going to be via Patreon. We'll do it as a Patreon exclusive. We might stream it, but we think we're probably going to put it on Patreon. But yeah, so you get your tickets. There'll be a link in the description below, or failing that, search Nottingham Comedy Festival, Football Manager Therapy. It'll show up. Yeah, that should be good fun. So that'll be in November. So we'll be plugging that on the shows as we come through to get those tickets sold. So we're very, very excited about that, aren't we, Rich? Very talking out loud stuff.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it? I'm really excited. I mean, I think Tony's oversold part of it. We weren't. It's not like we were invited to do it. I think the most exciting thing for Tony and I is that our wives both gave us permission to go away for the night, which is,
there is that. Let me rephrase that. Rich and I have a pass. We're going to put a podcast on.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've got a night out. Again, my wife still isn't 100% sure that Tony is real. She doesn't watch the podcast. I say I'm going to go and record a podcast with my friend Tony, and she's like, Tony. Okay, sure. You're going to go talk to Tony. I'm like, yeah, he's real. He exists. He's lovely.
Is he in the room with you right now? No, not right now, obviously.
No, but, it's ridiculous. He lives in York with his make-believe family. Come on now.
You may have noticed mine pop in early to go, are you actually doing anything here, or are you just taking the mickey? So,
are you just being antisocial, Mozza? No, I'm definitely.
First you try to lock yourself in a room, then you say you're doing a podcast.
Exactly. So if you can come to it, do try and come to it. We're also going to have a bit of a social afterwards, so we will stay for a drink and a chat, and yeah, you can sort of hang out with us all, and we can chat FM stories, so that will be good fun. I'm trying to think what else we can talk about. We've got one more thing we'll talk about, then we'll wrap up. Because there's a shirt behind me as well. You can see Mozza, you and I both sport proudly the Talk FC shirt. Do you want to give us a bit more about that as to sort of how you got involved with that as well? Because again, it's part of our mental health initiative that we have over at Football Manager Therapy.
So it was a big thing that I didn't actually realise when it was first getting started, but I got right on board as soon as I found out about it. It's FC United Against Suicide, and it was initially a Scottish campaign to basically encourage men to open up and talk out about anything that they were having, kind of dark thoughts or anything at all, because as we know, we are terrible about opening up about feelings. And I'm guilty of it as much as any other person as well, but it's ultimately using football as a vehicle to try and get men to open up about things, and hopefully to find a little bit of a peace where there's not peace there. So it's a hugely important campaign. It's something I'm really proud to represent and to support. And the good thing up here is a lot of our football clubs have actually got on board with it as well. You see a lot of Scottish footballers that have been pictured wearing the kit and kind of advocating for it. So you've had the likes of Jack Henry, and you've had Andy Robertson, a lot of Scotland internationals behind it, as well as, well, generally kind of content creators or football personalities, whatever. So it's a hugely important cause, and one that I'd encourage people to go and look out as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And as we say, the shirt always hangs in the stream, and obviously yourself and I both wear it as much as we can in sort of press shots and stuff as well. So it's always something that's there. And again, we will of course plug the Discord if anyone is struggling. Do remember to reach out. We are always here. Someone's always here. And if you are really, really struggling, then of course we've got FC United against Suicide, and of course we also work with Evolving Mindset and Limo. So again, feel free to hit those guys up. There are links, of course, in the description below as well. We probably should mention our final thing, which is going to be our new community challenge. We've gone from Unicorn City over in Aberdeen, and we've now decided we're going full circle, Rich. We're going full circle, okay? So what happens? Right, these monthly challenges we put out, sometimes people go like, oh, it's just a month. Like, can we not have a longer challenge? Yes, we can have a longer challenge. We're going to have a longer challenge now because, loyal listeners, I have got my GCSE level maths, and I know that this is episode 98.2, right? Episode 100 is but 8 episodes away. Now, that could potentially be 2 months. Okay, so what's better than a 1 month challenge? A 2 month challenge, and because we're approaching episode 100 for FMT, we're going to go back full circle to where it all began. And the challenge is the Scandinavian Triple Crown. Is it possible in 2 months to, first of all, start in Norway with Odds Ball Club, obviously, win the Norwegian Eliteserien? Can you do that? You don't have to win it with odds. If you get sacked, Tony, you can move to another club. If you get offered the chance to go manage a better club, a more successful club, go and do that. You just need to win. You just need to win. Right? So if Rosenborg come calling, you can go to Rosenborg. How long is it going to take you to win the Norwegian top division? From that point, you then go to Sweden. How long does it take you to win the division in Sweden? At that point, you then go to Denmark. How long does it take you to win in Denmark? So the cumulative total of time taken, that is the challenge. Any cup wins or European honours, they'll be in the event of a tie. If you don't get the whole thing, not a problem, but points are of course given for each division. So say you win Norway in 2 months, well done, that's 1 point. If you win Sweden in 2 months, that's 2 points. If you win Denmark in 2 months, then that's 5 points. You won the whole thing. If you win all three, there's an FMT t-shirt up for grabs for whoever wins that challenge. What do we think?
I feel very strongly about it, and I feel very positively about it. I'm very, very excited to get cracking on this one. I think it's also worth pointing out you don't have to do them chronologically. If you can go about. You will have to start the save with odds. I think Tony's put the save file in the Discord early this afternoon, so it's there. It's when you are listening to or watching this podcast, it's there ready for you to download and get started with. If you're struggling at odds and a job in Sweden becomes available early doors. No.
You have misunderstood this. No.
Has it got to be in that order?
No, you've got to win it in that order.
You've got to be that order. Oh, ignore me.
Win Norway, then win Sweden, then win Denmark.
Ignore
Mr.
me.
Owens is already trying to find a way to make it easier.
Isn't it just?
Look at me. I'm looking for those loopholes. I'm looking. Hey, you are talking to the most consistent, the consistent community Discord challenge winner since taking over hosting this podcast. So I've got form. I've got form. I don't need loopholes. I just need to actually do the challenge this month. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be brilliant fun. I think Scandinavian saves are definitely up there. Definitely up there. So I'm very, very excited to get started.
Excellent stuff. So yeah, it's in the Discord. If you do want to come and take part, feel free. Of course, if you do any creation of any sort, document it, stick pictures in there, stick us links, blogs, videos, whatever you need to do. But yeah, the more people we can get doing it, the more fun we'll have, and we'll keep continuing to chart in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, which we do like seeing that we end up in the podcast charts in Scandinavia. So that's fantastic. Mozza, something up your street, or just a bit too hardcore?
I like Scandinavia, but that sounds tough to me. As we have previously discussed, I am not a man who excels at FM, shall we say. I enjoy it very much so, but I am not someone who takes the big teams and goes and win European trophies. I am someone who does a lower league saves and grinds, and I love the grind that way. So I will certainly give it a go. I've done Sweden before. I love Swedish leagues. Örgryte was who I managed in Sweden. So if anyone Scottish is listening, they are a Scottish founded team in Sweden. If you can get them involved as well, I'll be very much appreciative. But that is a tough challenge.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how many people give it a go and then how many bodies are left by the wayside. Just go, I tried, I gave up. It'll probably be me after about 3 weeks going, I got sacked by odds and couldn't get another job. So that'd be me going back with my tail between my legs going, can I just go back to my actual save where I still haven't won the league with odds? And I'm like 4 seasons in and I've got a head start and I'm still not actually with a head start. I think the United City FM's doing that as his stream at the minute, and he's about 30 seasons in and still hasn't got to Denmark yet. So might be a little bit tough, possibly. But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing how people get on with that one. Mozza, got to say huge thanks for coming on. Hope you've enjoyed it. Do us a favor, plug yourself. Let us know where people can find you: Twitch, Twitter, FM Playoffs, Broomhill, all that sort of stuff.
So you'll find me at Mozza Plays on Twitter and pretty much everywhere. Twitch is different. I'm at Mozza, twitch.tv/Mozza on there. And you'll find everything through my Twitter is the easiest way to sum it up. Broomhill, I believe we're now OG_Broomhill on Twitter. But yeah, you'll find me either talking about Scottish football, talking about FM, everything in between. And a expert amount of nonsense as well as insight. So that's basically my brand, which I feel is there's a similarity here.
There's a reason you're on the podcast, mate. Yeah, what saying. Yeah. And a non-league database next year, FM23.
Yeah. So as usual, I'll get that done again. Blows my mind a bit how well the Scotland one's done this year. At one point, it was the third most downloaded of all FM databases behind France and Germany, which is just ridiculous. And there's now a World Cup one, so I've got a Qatar World Cup real life database out there. You'll find that if you go into the workshop and look at the most downloaded files or most popular files. And I have an alternative version where I did put Scotland in if we had qualified, and it has not gone well when I've test run it. So
it's not if we hadn't morally objected. Use those words.
This is true. We did lay down on the field almost literally. So I personally am quite happy with her decision.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's lovely. The view from the moral high ground is wonderful. Rich, speaking as someone who's allowed to join us on this moral high ground, please plug yourself. Where can people find you?
At Rich Owens FM on Twitter, twitch.tv/Rich Owens FM. Please come and join me on both. The tweets are good. The streaming's even better. So just come, hang out, watch. We have a good time.
He's not wrong, you know. You can also follow the podcast, of course, at FMT Pod on Twitter. We are Football Manager Therapy on YouTube. You can follow us on Patreon as well. We've obviously already plugged that. That's patreon.com/FMT Pod. You can support us from as little as £1 a month. You will, of course, get access to the live show. If you don't buy tickets, of course, tickets we've already mentioned, Nottingham Comedy Festival, Football Manager Therapy. And you can follow me as well, which is on Twitter is at Tony Jameson, and on Twitch it's Tony Jameson FM. It's been a good one, this one, hasn't it? I've quite enjoyed it. We've got another one coming up very, very shortly. Hope you enjoy that as well. But yeah, as always, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you all soon on another episode of Football Manager Therapy.